Reservation Dogs is the first and only TV show where all of the writers, directors, and regular cast members are Native American. The FX series that you can watch on Hulu is a mix of comedy and drama. In this video, we'll get to understand why the co-creator said that the show gives the audience permission to laugh. Make sure you stick with me to the end. Without any further delay, let's get into it. What's the TV show Reservation Dogs about? It's about 4 teenagers who live on a reservation and want to get out of their dead-end lives. They feel frustrated and left out because they're stuck between what's left of traditional Native culture on the reservation and popular culture in the rest of the country. The show shows how important Native traditions are, while also making fun of how traditions can be used to make sanctimonious pop culture tropes. Sterlin Harjo, who created and runs the show Reservation Dogs, said he grew up around the best storytellers in the world. Harjo remembers being a child and sitting in his grandmother's kitchen to hear stories about amazing people, either real or made up, who often did ordinary things. The magic was in how the story was told. A simple story about someone going to the store could be filled with sadness, regret, luck, and magic. Harjo said that he learned to tell stories this way. From his point of understanding, you can't say that movies are Native American art, but telling stories is. And in Reservation Dogs, he tried to show just a little bit of that. Harjo is from the Seminole and Muskogee nations, and he says that the positive feedback from his community, including his parents, is what kept him going. One day, his dad told him that his show had given Native people a reason to hold their heads up a little higher. Now in its second season, Reservation Dogs is still one of the most unique shows on TV. Harjo saw something he had never seen before on Halloween. People always dress up as fake Indians every Halloween, with clothes from the dollar store. But after the first season, kids all of a sudden started dressing up as the Reservation Dogs. So many pictures of them dressed as Reservation Dogs poured in on social media. Next, let's talk about the highlights of his interview. Why he likes the word Indian better than Native American. Harjo said that Indian was what his grandmother said, so he's not here to change what she said, and he knows this to be true. He went on to apologize, saying that Christopher Columbus got it wrong, but that's what they call themselves, you know? He also prefers to use Indigenous and Native. Depending on where he is and who he's talking to, he could use any of those. Native American is a lot to say to him. What did he say about growing up in Oklahoma on the Muskogee Reservation? Harjo currently lives on the Muskogee Reservation, which is part of Tulsa. Before, it wasn't known as a reservation, but now it is. This is because of a lot of complicated government policies and interactions with tribal governments, which he couldn't talk about there because that would be another show. But if you look at Oklahoma, it used to be called Indian Territory, which was basically one big reservation. Then oil, land, and other things changed that, of course. But this was the end of the Trail of Tears. All of the tribes that the US government forced to move were brought to Indian Territory, which is now Oklahoma. So it was really just one big reservation. And if you go an hour in any direction in Oklahoma, or 30 minutes in any direction in Oklahoma, you'll be in a new tribal territory where the stop signs and other signs in the town are written in a different tribal language. Different cultures have their own habits, so it's a mix of Native American people from all over the United States. Growing up as a Native child in Oklahoma was different, he added. People know about Native American culture and who Native Americans are, and the state is very different. Harjo didn't think that many people know how diverse Oklahoma is, but in rural Oklahoma, it's very diverse, and he didn't know. Maybe because he grew up in Indian Territory, Oklahoma. He wanted to honor that in the show. The story of Reservation Dogs is told by Native people. About this, Harjo said that there's something really beautiful about how everyone comes together and laughs at the funeral in their community. And you get to see people you haven't seen in a long time and say I love you to people you wouldn't normally say I love you to. It's just how things work in a group. There was always someone dying. In the culture, people are taught that the dead are still around and that you can still talk to them. There are also ghost stories and other things like that. But Harjo grew up with a sense of magic, and he thinks that they can talk to each other and reach people in other places. There are ceremonies and other things for this. Harjo has always been very interested in it, and he always tried to learn as much as he could about it through his work. In other news, Boris 4 trailer aims for diversity. We're almost there now. The protagonists of Boris, the fiction, is set to return with the 4th season as an exclusive after 12 years of absence. Director Rene Ferretti, played by Francesco Penafino, is ready to shoot a new television series with his old and reckless troupe of nothing. Many years have passed since the Boris series ended with the 3rd season. The protagonists have obviously aged well after more than a decade, while what has remained unchanged is their desire to work in television again. Though on the whole, they never managed to do anything good. Still, there's no shortage of surprising news, starting with the fact that Corinne and Stannis, after being dog and cat for years, have finally gotten married. But there's more. Together, they founded a production company, SNP, which literally means So Not Italian Production, or Not Very Italian Production, just to never contradict each other, given the aversion Stannis has always had for the world of Italian entertainment considered, in his opinion, too Italian. La Rochelle and his wife, with their company, have also created a new series called called Life of Jesus, which is shot by the same troupe many years ago who were in charge of Eyes of the Heart under the direction of Rene Ferretti. As co-producer and organizer of the project, Lopez returns to the place, who in the meantime retired from the old television network and coined the new label QQQ, which stands for Quality, Quality, Quality. Rene and the whole team find themselves having to work for a global platform because the TV they knew hardly exists anymore. And everyone has more or less had to reinvent themselves to keep up with the times. In this regard, last but not least, in the Boris trailer, we see a lot of the attempt at inclusivity to create a modern product with the philosophy of political correctness. But will they really be able to do so, given their poor track record on such sensitive issues? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Next up, a new series arrives from the world of Sherlock Holmes. Watson will no longer be just a secondary character. We got a new television series dedicated solely to him, the wise doctor and assistant to Sherlock Holmes, without any connection to other products already made. Watson stems from Sweeney's original agreement with CBS Studios, where he worked for most of his career, creating Limitless and Star Trek Discovery. Sweeney serves as an executive producer on Watson, along with Aaron Kaplan, Brian Morowitz, and Sharon Mollum. In Watson, a year after the death of his friend and colleague Sherlock Holmes at the hands of his nemesis Moriarty, Dr. John Watson resumes his medical career running a clinic dedicated to the treatment of rare diseases. Watson will therefore be a medical series with a strong investigative imprint, again in a modern way, which has already had a great success in the television series Sherlock and Elementary. This time, however, the assistant to the world's best detective will go from solving crimes to solving great scientific mysteries, those related to diseases and their way of acting on life. Dr. John H. Watson is a character created by 19th century writer Arthur Conan Doyle as co-creator in the illustrious adventures of Baker Street detective Sherlock Holmes. He first appeared in the novel A Study in Red, published in 1887, and is almost always present in novels and short stories devoted to Sherlock Holmes, where he often also plays the role of narrator of events in the first person. Among the most famous and recent interpretations of Watson, we find that of Martin Freeman for the television series Sherlock, Jude Law for the two films Sherlock Holmes, which sooner or later we will see again in Sherlock Holmes 3, John C. Reilly for the comedy film Holmes and Watson, and by Lucy Liu in the series Elementary. That concludes today's video. If you found the video helpful, give us a thumbs up, and don't forget to share the video with your friends and family. See you next time.